¿Qué pasa YouTube? What's up? How's it going, everybody? Have for y'all today a pretty awesome Wi-Fi battle, but not just a regular Wi-Fi battle. This was a roulette battle that I had against Argon off of my Discord. So of course, if you guys do enjoy the fun battle, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below and answer the comment question of the day. Now, quick little summary of what a roulette battle is. I picked 6 numbers, Argon picked 6 numbers. We each counted up our Pokemon individually in our boxes that we had, and then I picked from the 6 numbers that he picked for me, and then he picked from the 6 numbers that I picked from him, and we just kind of went down the line in our boxes and picked the numbers, or picked the Pokemon according to those numbers. So for example, I got an Uber's Mega Venusaur set, I got Webs, even though I got 2 Scarfers with Latios and Shaman, and then I have a Sub CM Blacephalon because it was a Uber's set on our Uber's team, and then I got Tapu Fini, which you never really see Fini at all nowadays, but I do actually have a pretty fun OU team with Fini, so maybe you guys will see this again in the future. So looking at the team preview, easily the biggest threat going into this match was going to be Terrakion, because with him having Webs, even though I have Webs myself, Webs affect me more than Webs affect him, so Terrakion is going to be absolutely terrifying. And then if for some reason he's got like a random Rain Dance move on his Pokemon, then that Kabutops could be very scary late game. Also, trying to break through Skarmory, Cresselia, and Mantine is going to be a bit of a pain, even though yes, I do have Blacephalon and Galvantula. Those really give Terrakion a switch in, and I just basically sack something to Terrakion. So yeah, Terrakion's pretty terrifying in this matchup. So I ended up leading off with my Fini in hopes that he would actually lead off with the Shuckle. That way I could taunt him turn 1 and stop him from getting up Webs. Although I do have Defog on my Fini, that was a turn that I would have to give up, and that could potentially give him a free switch into Terrakion if he ever did expect me to go straight for the Defog. So I just kind of wanted to avoid that. But we end up doing some switches here, as I'm going to be trying to weaken down this Cresselia. I believe I did miss one of my Nature's Madness, but it doesn't end up really playing a role in the long run of the battle. Although in the moment I would be at a little bit more HP, and I would have this Cresselia at about half of what it is currently right now, and that might have been really nice for me, because this means that I don't have to solely rely on my Galvantula and Blacephalon to try and break down this Cresselia. Now my Scarf Shaman can come in, and so can my Latios in the back, and potentially pick off this Cresselia, which is going to be really nice. So I believe I did just taunt there as he went for the Side Shock, and then this turn I make a bit of an aggressive switch into my Galvantula. Part of me thought that maybe he would try to switch out, and part of me did expect to just take this Side Shock like it was nothing. Thankfully, it will not be a 2-hit KO, although that does do a lot more damage than I was expecting, because it is a Cresselia. Then again, I am Galvantula. Galvantula really is not the bulkiest thing around, but I'm just going to go ahead and get up my Webs either way this turn, because I know he's not going to stay in. His best switch in is going to be the Shuckle, and I'm already not doing much damage to the Shuckle as it is. At least by getting up the Webs, on the off chance that Terrakion is a double dance set with like Rock Polish, or if he is Choice Scarf, then I can kind of nullify his speed a little bit, and that could come in very, very handy for one of my 2 Scarfers in the back. So I Volt Switch into my Blacephalon here, and I'm going to go straight for the Fire Blast, expecting him to try and go for the Encore, because as badly as I wanted to go for the substitute there, I really could not have done that because of him going for the Encore, and then I would have been forced to switch out the following turn, and that really would have not been good for me. Also, if I had gone for the sub there as he Encored, he would have been able to get up a Stealth Rock, so that would have been super annoying. Thankfully though, Z moves are not affected by Encore, so I will be able to bypass that and click my never-ending Nightmare here, which honestly I did not expect to knock out this Shuckle. I'm not sure if this is where me getting that crit with the Galvantula really mattered, because I might have still been able to knock him out, but I'm not really too sure, to be honest with you guys. As he ends up bringing in Terrakion here, I'm thinking, okay, if this is not Scarfed, I need to take this chance, just because of how huge of a threat Terrakion is to my team. If this is not Scarfed, I can get off some damage with the Fire Blast, and then we can go from there. And there was also the chance that he might have expected me to switch, so maybe he wouldn't go straight for the Stone Edge, but I guess realistically Stone Edge hits absolutely everything on my team. And I do have a Bug type, a Poison type, a Psychic type, and a Fairy type in the back. But again, that was a risk I was really willing to take, because being able to get off that damage on Terrakion meant that I could later bring in something to revenge kill it, and it would have made my job a lot easier against the Terrakion, as I do predict him to switch out. I'm going to be able to catch the Skarmory here with a trick, and I expected him to try and get up his Stealth Rocks here, which is why I make an aggressive switch into my Galvantula. Also, kind of hoping that I would live the Brave Bird on the off chance that he did go for it, but judging from how much damage the Psyshock did earlier, I guess there was really no chance of me living that. So yeah, that was a bit of a bad play on my part, now that I think about it, because what I also could have done was either sacked off my Finny here, or I could have potentially switched into Shaman on the Brave Bird and then gone for the Healing Wish if I would have been able to live to or still outspeed the Skarmory, because if that was defensive Skarmory, even though I am Scarfed Shaman caught in webs, I still might have actually been faster than it. But either way though, it's fine. As this turn, I'm just going to go for the Nature's Madness on this Skarmory because I want to be able to weaken it. He's definitely at this point going to leave this in just to spam Brave Bird and weaken my team, which I don't have a flying resist, so I have to just kind of let my team get bombarded by this Skarmory here as I make an aggressive switch into my Shaman. I figured that if I can live to, or if I can outspeed him here because he could be defensive, what I can do is go for the Healing Wish, pass the Healing Wish off to my Tapu Fini, and bring it back up to full HP. I really didn't see Shaman doing entirely too much in this battle because he does have the Mantine in the back, which can live anything I want to go for, and unless I got lucky with Spadef drops, then there was no way I was going to be able to break through it. Also, Shaman really couldn't do anything to this Skarmory, so at least this way I can bring my Finny back up to full HP and still have somewhat of a chance to win this battle, although things are not really going to be looking good for me, even though I will be able to knock out the Skarmory this turn. He still has Cresselia in the back, which can go for a free Moonlight against my entire team essentially because it will be able to outspeed me thanks to webs, or I'm not able to knock it out at the amount of HP that it's at because I missed the Nature's Madness earlier. Or he gets a free switch into the Terrakion or this Kabutops, for example, which if this thing is Continental Crush, then it just basically gets a KO after going for Swords Dance, because there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to knock this out with a Moonblast unless I had got a crit, and judging from the damage, I don't even think a crit would have knocked him out. So unfortunately, my best bet right now is to hope that he doesn't have the Continental Crush and that I can somehow live a Stone Age still, even if he has Life Orb. But no, he does indeed have the Z move with the Continental Crush. This is +2, possibly Adamant, and I only have max HP investment on my Tapu Fini. No defense investment, even though Tapu Fini is very naturally bulky. This is still a Continental Crush at +2, and I just gotta die. So yeah, Kabutops just kind of pushed my shit in there for a moment, but this does give me a switch here into my Latios, which is going to be excellent because I can outspeed this Kabutops after being able to chew an Aqua Jet and in return knock him out with the Psyshock. Now, even though Terrakion is Scarfed, thanks to the webs, if you were to bring in Terrakion here, he would be brought back down to neutral speed, and Latios are typically faster than Terrakion, so I would be able to outspeed him and maybe knock him out with the Psyshock. But he does make the correct play here and bringing in the Mantine, and I'm going to switch directly into my Venusaur on the off chance that maybe he wanted to go for the Toxic, the Defog, or the Scald. Defog most likely being his safest play because he can get rid of the webs, which means now Scarf Terrakion is once again faster than my Latios, so I will be able to Mega Evolve here. If that Mantine does have the Air Slash, that could be a little bit of a problem because I was caught in the webs. Because of webs, I'm no longer faster than Mantine, but he actually decides to hard switch out here as I go for the Leech Seed. Main reason I went for the Leech Seed was because if he did go for the Air Slash, I could then gain back a little bit of that damage that he did thanks to the Leech Seed. Also, Leech Seed covered him trying to bring in the Cresselia here, which if this was Subcom Mind Cresselia, this might have actually been a humongous nightmare to face. Thankfully though, I'm guessing he's not Subcom Mind, and I will be able to go for the Toxic here as he decides to go for the Moonlight. So now that this Cresselia is Toxic and it is Leech Seeded, I can start applying some offensive pressure to it by potentially going for the Grass Knot, or I believe I actually switched into my Latios here on the off chance that he did want to try and go for the Psyshock. I think he had. I don't remember if he had Psychic or Psyshock, but whichever one he went for, I could switch into Latios, rack up a bit of toxic damage, and gain back some Leech Seed recovery. But because he did switch out into the Mantine, I'm going to be forced back into my Venusaur here, which I decided to go for the Leech Seed in case he did predict me to go for the Toxic, trying to bring back in the Cresselia to potentially waste that extra turn. But I guess I could have just gone for the Toxic this turn. Leech Seed also covered him trying to bring in the Terrakion because he might have felt like he could be aggressive in that sense and bring in Terrakion to try and pressure my Venusaur. But even though this is a purely Spadef bulky Venusaur, yeah, I know it's odd, like for OU it'd be really odd, but this is what Mega Venusaur run in Ubers from what I've seen. Spadef Mega Venusaur is actually pretty solid in Ubers. Definitely want to try that out a little bit more. But because I am a more Spadef set, if the Terrakion does enough damage to my Mega Venusaur, it could possibly put me in range of where Cresselia can come in and then in return knock me out with the Side Shock, and then at that point I can't break through Cresselia with my Latios, which doesn't even have any form of recovery because I was Choice Scarf. So I need to try and put myself in a position of where I can hopefully avoid being put in the range of Side Shock knocking out my Venusaur here. So I switch out into Latios, expecting him to go for the Scald again, but he actually pulls a double out into his Cresselia. Not entirely too sure why. Maybe he thought that I would just try to go for the Synthesis again, or I guess in that sense I might have been able to just safely go for the Grass Knot if I did stay in with my Venusaur. Either way though, because I think that this may not have Ice Beam or the Moonblast, I stay in and I go for the Side Shock. Very foolish of me because he does turn out to have the Moonblast, but it does not do entirely too much damage, and that is going to be very, very important because now, if it comes down to it, I can kind of pivot around this Cresselia in between my Latios and my Mega Venusaur, potentially trying to stall out Side Shocks or potentially Moonblasts and stuff like that. So I switch back into my Venusaur here thinking that he would go for the Moonblast, but he pulls a switch back in to his Mantine, and this is fine by me because I can just fire off a Leech Seed here very, very freely. There's no way that Mantine plus non-Combine Cresselia should be able to break through my Venusaur. It's mainly that Terrakion in the back that I am so deadly, very, very scared of, essentially. Like, that Terrakion on the back is such a problem that I can literally just still win him the game. Even though it looks like he is struggling to break through Mega Venusaur, there is still a chance that Terrakion can win. So unfortunately, because I do knock out this Mantine now and I've taken a few turns of the burn damage, in comes the Terrakion. So at this point, I know he's Scarfed because he outsped my Blacephalon earlier in the match after the webs, and my Blacephalon wasn't affected by webs. So I'm going to go for the Synthesis to see exactly how much damage this Stone Edge does to me, and it's doing a pretty nice amount of damage. Also, by going for the Synthesis, I was kind of hoping that maybe he would miss the Stone Edge, and I don't want to waste too many on my Synthesis because if I am able to avoid the KO from Psyshock after knocking out Terrakion, then I'm gonna need Venusaur to try and stall this Cresselia to put it in range where I can revenge kill it. So he goes for the Psyshock here, and I live on 7 HP. Ladies and gentlemen, Mega Venusaur's ability is not called thick fat for no reason. Mega Venusaur's got that girth, it's got them pounds, it's nice and hefty, you feel me? So this is going to be ridiculously sped up because the remaining turns, or most of the remaining turns here, are me trying to put myself in a position of where I can start racking up toxic damage, hopefully get off a Leech Seed on the Cresselia, and just wear it down enough to the point where I can safely bring in my Latios and knock it out with the Draco Meteor. Unfortunately though, I do end up missing my first Leech Seed, as I did expect them to go for the Moonlight, and I need to be very wary of how I'm using my Synthesis, because if I run out of Synthesis and I'm not able to get off enough damage on this Cresselia, then there's probably going to be no way that my Latios could beat this Crest 1v1. But because of all these turns that have been going on, toxic damage was putting in the work there, slowly racking itself up, and eventually Mega Venusaur was able to overcome Cresselia, Mantine, and even Terrakion in the back. Ladies and gentlemen, use Mega Venusaur. It is amazing. It's so fat, it's so thick. Oh, I love me some Mega Venusaurs. So yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy the crazy, fun roulette battle. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below to show your support to the channel and answer the common question of the day. With that being said, I will see you all tomorrow with another Wi-Fi battle. So thank you all for watching. Later, everybody.
No matter where you're at, I'm not here to make friends, it's time to attack and deplete your HP with a final smash. Don't make me turn around and pull a 6-foot hacks. 6 foot hacks, yeah. 6 foot hacks, yeah. 6 foot hacks.